This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Preston.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today, we have a lovely neighbor on with us, and that is Lindsay van Volkenburg of Wave Wellness. What's going on, dear?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
What an intro, eh? I'm surprised I nailed that. I'm like really bad with names, but not bad getting it on the second shot.
It sounds just like it reads, but I think when people start seeing all the V's in there, they like get really nervous that it's going to sound one way, but it's, yeah, you did good.
Give me a couple glasses of wine. I'll botch that. No problem. So how's the week been so far? What were you up to on the weekend?
A weekend was just chill. It was a nice, like, slow weekend. I thought it was like a perfect weather weekend. Saturday was like beautiful and sunny, and I got like my pumpkins and stuff for the outside. And then Sunday was like a rainy, cool day, which was perfect because I'm a big football watcher, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So it was a great weekend. Yeah. Love
it. Yeah. We watched the game last night.
Nice.
Football, and it was actually really nice. The northwest edge of Barrie on Sunday, and my fiance and I power watched the first 3 movies of The Hobbit. We were
my God,
9 hours of straight movies.
Oh my gosh, I've never watched those movies, but yeah, I feel like that would be like a real long haul for those.
Yeah, I was just checking out, and then it was so nice outside, and I'm like, oh, why are we doing this?
But yeah, it did turn into a nice day, actually. You're right. Yeah.
So rock and roll. Okay, I'm sure people are chomping on the bit. They want to get to know you, get to know your business. So why don't we dive right into it? Why don't you share with us a little bit more about your business?
Yeah, I'm a registered social worker by trade and psychotherapist. I graduated in 2014. I graduated from King's University College in London, Ontario. And then in 2022, after I spent a lot of my career working lots of different like hospitals and agencies and organizations, I opened up Wave Wellness. I work with clients across Ontario because I'm virtual. I work just within Ontario for therapy, and then I can work as a coach within Canada. I mostly help women and couples within like their 20s, 30s, and 40s overcome a lot of obstacles around like anxiety and burnout and self-esteem issues and trauma. I would say the most common challenges I see my clients face are symptoms like avoidance, loneliness, addiction, people pleasing, perfectionism. And this can find its way into a lot of different parts of their lives, like their physical health and their career, relationships, and just their like overall sense of well-being in the world and belonging. I feel like although we believe ourselves to be a really connected society because of our social media and all these apps that we have, I think the opposite has really happened. And I hear so often that one of the main triggers for people experiencing painful emotions is like loneliness and disconnection and just feeling like so alone in the world, especially since COVID. People are still so traumatized by those years in a really profound way. And I've had to really shift my model of care during that time to really adapt to the changes and issues and the intensity of the issues that people are experiencing. Like, I don't think any mental health therapist was ready for what we went through during those years and still are. Something we're celebrating is that since I opened my doors 2.5 years ago, and I just found this out yesterday, was that I've helped over 300 people since I opened my business. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I think is finally coming out to light a little bit more, where especially in men too, trying to hold it all in and be the tough person, and your circle of influence to a degree, sharing things and what you're going through and having that level of support system. But your family's not your therapist, your best friend's not your therapist. The validation of emotions, why do I feel this way? Am I okay to feel this way? And just not really having as much courage as I think people should, and saying like, well, I should go talk to somebody. Not really like I should seek help. It's like I should just go talk to somebody about how I'm feeling and validate those feelings. And it's just such a good conversation. I mean, I go to therapy and figure it out.
Green flag.
Everybody should go to therapy.
Yes.
And I felt that way for the longest time. All of those things I just said, I'm like, no, I'm not going to go. I can handle it myself. I'm pretty mentally strong, but there's just some stuff that happens in life that's tough to navigate. That could be a death of somebody like really close, all the way to being bullied, being cyberbullied. I've gone through that in my life. Their childhood trauma sometimes people go through, all these different things, the things that you mentioned right up at the top. Going and seeking help from a professional can help you just kind of navigate those laneways. I'm a big fan for those to go out and just encourage them to go have those types of conversations.
Definitely. Therapists can just give you that objective, perspective. I like to say, like, my job is to hold up a mirror, right? I hold up a really clear mirror of what's going on in your life. When you're asking your friends or your family or even your partner for advice or guidance on something, there's bias there, and they're not seeing things as clearly as somebody might who is outside of the situation.
Yeah, totally. So you mentioned about being a coach, and you mentioned outside of Ontario. Is that like a regulation thing that they don't allow?
Yeah. So when you're providing psychotherapy, this is something that only regulated professionals can do, and so you belong to a regulatory body. I'm only licensed to provide psychotherapy within Ontario, so that's the only service that I can, just stick to within Ontario. I can offer coaching to people within Ontario as well, but coaching is not regulated and can be offered outside of Ontario.
So the coaching aspect of that, share maybe with us a little bit more, kind of what that entails. Is it like more like on the life coaching side of things? Explain us that.
Yeah, and I get a little bit more into that later on as well, but I can share a bit now. I like to say, like, therapy is like when you've got something that's in the way of you doing something now, like something from your past that's getting in the way of you fulfilling something now. That's when you need therapy. But when you are getting along a little bit better in life, and let's say you want to learn how to do something really specific, that's when a coach becomes really helpful. Like, it takes you from where you are today, helps you to get to where you want to be tomorrow. Whereas with therapy, we're more focused in on the past. We're more dealing with like the childhood trauma or deeper wounds that have been there for some time. It doesn't always go back to childhood. It can be like in your teen years or something like a loss that's happened in your adult life as well. So it's not always about the childhood, but there's often a lot that dates back to that.
Yeah, I've had 3 or 4 podcasts now in this psychotherapy realm, therapy in general, and often it's come up by the professionals that don't wait till something happens. It's more like a preventative thing. If there's things that are starting to happen, it's like, we'll talk about it right away. Don't wait until it gets worse, where it's unmanageable, seriously affecting you. It's a lot more easier to talk about it sooner and kind of navigate those laneways.
I mean, that's an ideal world, but we're messy human beings, right? Usually, like 99% of the time, the people that are coming to me in therapy anyways are saying, like, I've needed therapy for years. I've known for a long time I've needed to reach out, and here I am. So life gets messy.
So what do you like the most about what you do every day?
What do I like most?
I know that's not on the question list. Sorry for throwing you.
No. Oh, there's so many things. Honestly, like, I like being able to take clients to their vulnerable places, like things that they sort of dance around in therapy. Like I like to say, like, we'll do like a few sessions and clients will like clam up and they'll say, like, oh, just suddenly everything's better now. And I'm like, really? But like, we face what's in the way. What's in the way is the way. So if something's blocking, we face that block and we're like, okay, what's going on here? There's no way that after 2 therapy sessions, the issues that have been there for decades have just suddenly disappeared. So I like being able to like take clients to those vulnerable places and help them to like see the truth of what's going on. There's so much avoidance of really what people are facing. And I think when I can help them face their truth is where we can start to see clients actually take steps towards change and for them to come to their own realization about it. I think a lot of the times clients come into therapy and just want their therapist to tell them what to do. Tell me what to do. Tell me what I need. And that can be somewhat more into coaching, but with therapy, there's so much more self-exploration and guided discovery that happens. And so much more profound change is going to happen when you are the one that initiates it. The therapist is there to guide you to those places, to ask the really good questions, give you that really good self-reflection and observation. But when you can come to the decision yourself, like, it's really going to stick.
Yeah, totally. Tell us, our listeners, a little bit about your journey. Everybody kind of starts in one place. Some people come right out of the womb, and they know exactly what they want to do. They do that for their whole life. Not so much, I feel like, these days and back in the day, back before our time. But tell us a little bit about how you got into doing what you're doing today.
Yeah. I started my business a couple years ago. And at that point, I was at a real kind of crossroad. I was people say that sometimes you start out of determination or you start out of desperation. I was kind of a mix of both. I was both desperate and determined to do really what I wanted to do. I'd spent a lot of years in my career doing, I guess, what I had to do before I could do what I wanted to do. Like I worked contract after contract. I moved around a lot to like a lot of different hospitals and agencies. But finally, when I decided to take this leap, I was like, this calling that I really just knew I couldn't ignore anymore. Like it was showing up in so many ways in my life. Like I was just really unhappy. There was so much tension and resistance in my life. And I was like, I have to just take that step. Had a lot of people telling me I couldn't do it. And honestly, like nothing fires me up more than that. But when I started my business, I started really messy. I didn't have like a huge budget. I didn't have a big team. I started like really messy and I just refined things over time. I had to take it like one day at a time. And you know that saying, it's like, be scared and do it anyway. Like that was me every day for a really, really long time. And still sometimes that is me. You have to just do it with fear sometimes. But when I started the business, it was also during lockdowns and COVID. And I had the weight of the world on my shoulders. I was experiencing my own trauma from the pandemic while also trying to help out others navigate their own fears and pain about it all. So it was a lot. Nothing was smooth or polished about the start of it. And looking back, I kind of wish I could have done things a little bit more methodically, but I'm actually in the middle of a rebrand with my business right now. So there's about to be like a really fresh look to the business very soon. But I take those failures and those missteps as part of the journey. And I think if I didn't give myself permission to start messy, I don't think I would have started at all. Like that's how I do almost everything in life, is just start messy, because otherwise you're just going to keep holding yourself back and just waiting for that perfect moment. So I just a messy human over here.
We tell our clients that all the time. It doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. And
that's right.
Jeff and I release content. We do all kinds of stuff from the podcast and outside of the podcast, and nothing's ever perfect. We just do it, get it out, and then you learn from those experiences and go back and refine what you did. And then every new challenge that you meet, it's like, oh, this is a tough challenge. And then you look back at all the other challenges and you're like, well, those weren't as hard as this one. So I know I can get through this one. And you just keep going over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in the middle of a rebrand, you got any secrets for us?
Well, the name of my business is going to change as well. It's just going to be like a fresh look. When I slapped everything together messy a few years ago, like it was just that. It was just messy. It was like I was just throwing like cooked spaghetti at the wall just to like come up with a quick plan to just get moving. And that's really not the energy I want to have behind the business. I mean, things have refined since then for sure. But I really just want to be totally in love with the brand, and it's going to be that way very soon. But the name is going to be really different. It has nothing to do with waves or water. It's going to be totally shifted, and I'm not willing to give that away just yet. But it's something that feels like way more aligned with who I am. So
super happy for you. It's one of our favorite words is the word branding. So
cool.
Okay, so are there any like myths or misconceptions out there that you hear from people when it comes to your line of work? Yeah,
I think like one of the things that really sticks out to me immediately is that it's like we talked about earlier, that's a weakness to ask for help, right? And that I really shouldn't need therapy because people have it so much more worse than I do. Like therapy can benefit almost anyone, and it can be a really safe container to explore your feelings and beliefs and all the things that you keep tucked away, like on the day-to-day basis, just to survive. But there's just so much more to life than just surviving, right? Therapy can just take you from that place of feeling like you're just getting by to thriving. That's really where I love to get people, is like feeling like they're not just like hanging on to that like life raft all the time, feeling like they have the space to actually live a fulfilling and full life. Because I think we're still so traumatized in a lot of ways from not just the lockdowns, but so much that's gone on in the last, few years of life and even longer. So I like taking people to that place of thriving.
Yeah, it gives them windows of opportunity to start changing the mindset, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Mindset's half of it. Once you can start looking at things in a positive light, you start getting excited, happiness levels rise, more dopamine hits, and then you get to accomplish more and start reaching your goals for whatever you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes real guts to get honest with yourself about what's going on in your life. We will choose like comfort over uncertainty all the time. That's just how our brains are wired. But that place of comfort isn't where you're going to thrive and live a fulfilling life. I love that quote by like Teddy Roosevelt that's like, the credit belongs to the man in the arena, right? Like there's so much guts and strength involved in asking for help. And we're hardwired for community. We're hardwired for support. And so these people that believe that they can just do it all on their own, like that doesn't really get you very far. Like you're not above help. Everybody needs help. The most successful, inspirational educators and leaders, like they do it with a lot of help. So, you have to think about that.
Yeah, growth comes from being uncomfortable, right? That's
Right.
that uncomfortable feeling. And you don't want to kind of do it. We like to call it the phase of suck. But eventually you get past that, you look past that and you look behind you and you're like, okay, that wasn't really that bad. And I'm way better for it. And then it allows you to just kind of tackle the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So I like to use this word harmony, having a harmony. I used to call it balance, but as a business owner, most people are in business, almost every single person, they're in business because they're super passionate about what they do. And so that makes working not really work. You can put in more hours, you're passionate about it, more kind of synergizes with your life and what you're doing. So, but work is not everything. And having a balance, not a balance, a harmony between all of that and finding that fine tune to really give you that quality of life that you're looking for is certainly the ingredient that makes all of this work well together. So when we're not working on the business or in the business, what's that harmony for you? What do you like to do for fun?
Yeah. And before I dive into that, like I'll so agree with you about the word balance and finding balance in life. Like I think that doesn't exist. Like there are just going to be seasons where you are more in work mode and then there's going to be seasons when you're more in rest mode. Like I think the idea of balance is just like doesn't exist. So I agree with you on that. But yeah, for fun, well, lately, like I said, you'll find me like on Sundays holding down my couch watching football. I watch really religiously. And when I started watching, it was actually out of this need to find something that was so far out of my work. Like so much of the things that I really enjoy, like reading and podcasts, like I love all of that, but it's so closely linked to the work that I do. And while that's great, it benefits me, it benefits my clients. Like I need things that are like just far out there and on like a weird way or an unhealthy way. Just like, I think when people look at me, they probably never assume that I really enjoy watching football. So I really love watching that. It's something that's like just gotten so fun for me over the last little while. Just like, yeah, watching religiously. I watched with my mom and her husband as well. And it was something that my father was really into. So love doing that.
What's your team?
Okay, so this rubs people the wrong way. I'm the girl without a team. I have like a handful of teams that I love to watch, but I don't have a specific team. I really like the Chiefs, and I know I get a lot of flack for that. I also love the Packers. I love the 49ers. I love a couple other teams. I love the Bills, but I don't actually have like one team. And maybe one day I will, but right now there's like a lot of teams that I like to watch and I'm rooting for. So
nice. Your loyalty's up for grabs.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
everyone's happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Julie and I watch. I'm a sports fan my whole life. Grew up playing hockey. I've played every sport. I play a couple of sports like beach volleyball and golf in the summertime. Wintertime, it's hockey. Born a hockey player. I got skates on right now. You just can't see them. And so when I got with Julie, she always watched football. I'm a big football nut, kind of like you are. And now that I am, same thing. So on Sundays, we'll have our couple of games that we want to focus on. Sometimes they're not our teams.
Yeah.
They're not playing. Like, we watch what the Bills and Bucks are doing, but we knew that the Kansas City Saints game yesterday was definitely something to tune in for. So instead of continuing to watch the Lord of the Rings saga, we thought, hey, let's do something different. And it was a welcome time. It was a pretty good game as well too. Lots of action, whatnot was going on.
Yeah.
So.
Sunday was a long day too. I got up for the 9:30 a.m. game and I watched all the way through till like the 8:20 game. So I put in like a 12+ hour shift of football that day. I was like, my body on Monday was like, why did you do that? That was like way too much sitting and non-movement, but had to do it.
Sometimes you need those days. I mean, we did that. Yeah. We did that on Sunday before that, or the day before, I guess. all day watching all those movies. So sometimes you just need to absolutely do
It's
nothing with
true.
your life and recharge the batteries. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It's true. But yeah,
So other than football, what else?
yeah, outside of football, I really love to host dinners. I love having my friends and family over. I love to barbecue. I like socializing with my friends, family. I like just taking random road trips from time to time, just like getting in my car and seeing where I end up. I'm also like a bit of a dork and I love playing like board games and puzzles. I'm a huge Settlers of Catan fan. So when I have enough friends to come over to play with me, that's usually what I make them do. um, yeah, like I've always got like puzzles on the go, especially in the winter months. And maybe that makes me a bit of a dork, but yeah.
Well, Julie and I fit right in there like a dirty shirt.
Okay.
So if you're looking for a couple of extra players for Settlers like Catan, you're going to have to add us on the list.
Okay, sweet. We'll have to text later then.
Yeah, we're big board game fans. Like any kind of game. I mean, we've even got caught drinking vodka late, and we bought some Nerf guns and put the army guys all at the stairs, and we laid on our bellies in the front of the house, and we were just shooting army guys off the stairs. Like we were 14.
I love that. I think like as adults we need to like play. Like play is so important, right? Like we can't give that up. That's just a huge piece of our well-being.
Yeah, we're big Disney fans too, so we bought the Disney Villainous board game. Have you ever played that?
No.
Yeah, so you get to play as a villain from Disney, and then they have their respective heroes, and so the heroes will come into turn at points in the game, and you have to vanquish the hero, and you have to try to masterfully craft your evil villainous plan. And it's a turn-based game. It's
okay. I need to look into this. That sounds fun.
We are connecting after the show. 100%.
Okay, we will.
Very cool. Okay, so maybe we'll move over to something a little bit more serious. Everybody picks their path in life, right? We decide to walk this path of life, and it's never truly necessarily linear. Life likes to throw things at us. It'll throw challenges our way, hardship, obstacles that we have to overcome. Sometimes they're in form of tragedies. Others experience those a little bit more than others. And what's always really kind of inspired me, something I've always been curious about, have been, human beings and their ability to be able to, persist through these challenges, how to persevere, mindset, like we were talking about, seeing the glass half full, and especially pulling silver linings from things, being able to hold on to hope and move forward, because we have to move forward, even though it's the phase of suck, like we were talking about, getting on the other side for however long that takes, but getting on the other side is the ultimate goal, so we can continue to move on and build and evolve as a society, as human beings, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm curious to ask you if you've ever experienced a hardship, a life challenge in your life that maybe you overcame, maybe it made you better, maybe it made you stronger, maybe you took some silver linings from it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't think any therapist is a therapist without having gone through something, right? But I think every challenge is a fertile ground for growth. And I didn't always see it that way. Like I've been through years of my own therapy and healing, and that's where I am now. But it used to be like, it's just one thing after another. Like I just can't seem to catch a break, or like, why do bad things always happen to me? Like I was really stuck in that victim mindset for a long time. But I don't know if I can really credit like my strength now to like one particular obstacle. I believe every hard thing I've been through has made me who I am today. But I've been through my share of pain. Like growing up, I experienced a lot of pretty serious stuff in my household. There was abuse and violence in my home. I struggled deeply with my own emotions at that time. I was going through a lot of depression and confidence issues. I started therapy at that time. I was around like 11 or 12, and that's probably how I got to where I am today. But I went through a lot, like the divorce of my parents when I started high school. That was really tough. I lost my father in my early 20s to cancer while I was in university. I'd been through like pretty abusive relationships in my life that did quite a number on me as well. So I've been through a lot, but I honestly can't say that I can like credit just one challenge or struggle to like where I've ended up today. I think all of those things have really shaped and changed who I am and the way I see the world. And before I got to the healing part of it, it sucked first. Like it wasn't like you go through that and you're like, I'm going to take this path and make it really great right away. Like it's hard first. And sometimes we don't always cope the best ways. I still don't cope perfectly, and I don't think I ever will. And I don't think it's realistic to expect anybody to. But before it got better, it sucked for a long time. And it took time for me to like go through it and heal. Like there was a lot of things that happened all at once in my life. And it's, again, probably the reason why I'm here today. But I feel like I'm kind of getting lost in this a little bit, but I don't know. I see ebbs and flows, like the ups, the highs and the lows as part of life. I don't really think that we're ever going to be free of challenges. I think it's those challenges that are real opportunities for growth. And thankfully now I've got lots of great tools and resources and supports to me now. And I do try my best to prioritize those when I'm going through something, but we're all human and we rely on both healthy and unhealthy ways of coping. I try to lean mostly into healthy coping, but I'm human and I think we should expect, people to be messy with it too.
Yeah. Going through challenges. It's like you said, it's not an easy thing. I've been through some challenges as well too, like the pandemic. When that happened, I had a pretty cushy job. I kind of fell into the car business at the time. We were working for an automotive marketing firm, and we really grinded it out to build it up. I remember how hard it was to do like $1 million in a year, and we were going to do $1 million in March of 2020. We were on pace to do 15 million that year, and life was looking really good until all that kind of went down.
Oh my God.
The plant in Taiwan had those microchip issues because they kind of shut down. So for those people who don't know, I didn't know this. It's a wild stat. Like that one plant produces 60% of the world's microchips, and Apple takes 60% of that. The car business worldwide takes 20% of that 60%, and Canada usually gets it last.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know that.
From having these lots with 2 to 4, maybe more 100 cars, they used to stock one of every vehicle in every single color. And it's drastically changed since then. So the supply dipped and the demand went up, and then there's no negotiation. There still isn't very much of that. You kind of just go in, you buy the car. You're not really negotiating anything off of it because somebody else is going to come and buy the same car. So they're in like the best position that they've been. They had to go through some struggles, of course, to get there, but we helped them retain their clients with the type of marketing that we were doing, specifically in client retention. So it kind of made us obsolete. Like that company doesn't even exist anymore.
Oh my goodness. That's a huge change for you.
There's 9 years of building, like became a sales director, was managing like 42 event managers, 6 sales reps, learn how to be a leader, learn how to manage people, all of that stuff. Didn't come easy, but we were building something, pretty special. I was really invested in. I'm really loyal, so I don't really hop around. And then it all kind of just went downhill, and just watch everything that you build go down and down and down to the point where you can't afford anything anymore. So I had to get out of the business. And then I went to go try to be a business owner, doing something that was working 9 to 5. So I had to build it from the ground up. So I was in people's homes showing them a vacuum cleaner.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I did that when I was super young. I was really successful at it, but I gave up my life to try to have that opportunity. And I didn't see it at the start, but I realized about 6-7 months in that it doesn't shut off. Like I would never be able to shut that business off. Mm-hmm. So I'd just be a victim of the business. And that's something I wasn't willing to kind of move forward with. So like I couldn't take care of my own dog. I couldn't take care of,
oh my gosh,
my parents were like, I was like going back to being like 16 and not being able to take care of anything. I was like a child again. So you're 34 years old and you have a house, you have a mortgage, you have all these things, and then you can't even take care of yourself anymore. It was like the worst possible feeling. And so I got into the same spot where you did when you were doing your business.
Desperate and determined.
Partial, desperate, determined. Yeah. So I've always had the determination. Like I've never not been successful at that and never really quit on anything. I quit on that because I didn't want my life to go in that general direction. So I had to make a shift, and then we built what we have now. And it's been, a year and a half, and finally in an opportunity where, you're not in that survival mode anymore. Like first month ever, finally not in survival mode. It's just like crazy feeling. So it's been a grind. It's been a struggle, but most people have gone through a lot of hardships and stuff like that. And I think that was probably the biggest one for me in my young adult life. So,
wow. How did you get from there to now being a podcast host with this Good Neighbor podcast? Like, how did you go from that to here?
Yeah. So, that's a great question. Number one, never had anybody ask.
Therapists are really good at asking questions. I'm usually not the one doing all the talking.
Yeah. So Jeff and I are marketing specialists. We help small and medium-sized businesses grow in their local market. And we do that through a wide variety of kind of a multi-channeled approach, giving them the visibility and helping them not only be seen, but be found and be chosen. So, when you're looking at brand a business, there's a multitude of ways that you can do that or get your message out. A lot of business owners want that instant gratification. That's the world we live in. That's how they want their pizza now. I want my Amazon order like tomorrow. I can't wait a week for this. And so when we want customers, that's often where the mindset goes to. It's I want customers now. But really, it's a wild, like marketing is vastly misunderstood to most people that we talk to. And so we do a lot of education and try to dumb it down to a grade 5 level the best we can. But branding is the foundation of the house. Like if you're not top of mind in front of your ideal target clientele, then they're going to forget about you. Mm-hmm. There's a bazillion therapists out there. There's a bazillion plumbers up there. There's a bazillion electricians, roofers, you name it. So what are we doing to stand out? Like, are you planning on being in business for 5 years? Are you planning on building something for yourself and then maybe have an opportunity to pass it down or use that as your retirement fund so that you can sail off in the sunset and enjoy that latter part of life? And so there's a way to be able to go out there and do good things in the world. Mm-hmm. And we're very big proponents on giving more than we take. Mm-hmm. And so we do that through the marketing and help our business owners and educate them on how to do that for their business. And the podcast for us is a way that we can do that as well. Being able to connect communities together, be able to give an opportunity for business owners to share their message the way they want it to be told. Because we have some really, really cool guests on the show and they've never been heard before. Or we've never heard of them before. And so it's great for us. It's great for them. And it's great for the community members. And it's something of value that we can give you because we're going to teach you how to market the platform. And so that we can maximize the exposure, SEO, organic stuff on social media. The algorithms change all the time. We try to be at the forefront of that as much as possible. And, all things being equal, networking events. We do a lot of things out there. I'm an ambassador for the Barrie Chamber of Commerce. My fiance is on the board of directors. So we're heavily involved in all of this stuff, and we're doubling down to try to help as many people as we can. And we don't ask for very much. We only ask sometimes. We'd rather give more than we ask. So that's kind of that component.
That's amazing. Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that with me. Like, it just sounds like a real, like, serve first model, like really just serving in the world. And I love that, like, especially as a therapist. Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, nobody wants to be sold to, really, in anything. And so just by being around and being that trusted source, when somebody's around, if you've done a good job and you run a good business, you're most likely going to get their business versus somebody else that they're seeing who's doing other components of marketing, but they're always asking them to buy. Just gets annoying after a while, and you don't really know that business versus if they just care to take the time to be there, like sponsoring the Timbit soccer team versus being on a billboard. It's the same message. It comes from a different place.
Shows up differently. Yeah.
100%. So what would be one thing that you wish our listeners knew about your business?
Well, I think I've said this word messy like a lot today. And I think remember that when you first start therapy, it's going to feel really messy when we first open up that box, like when we start exploring issues, sometimes for the first time for some people, like when I get new clients, sometimes it's the first time I've been in therapy or that they've ever explored an issue. And it's going to look like a tangled up ball of yarn, or it's going to feel like a tangled up ball of yarn, or like a tangled up string of Christmas lights. It's sometimes when we first open that up, we don't even have the words or thoughts sorted out, and it feels messy. We can kind of get lost in that feeling and feel like, oh, it's worth it or not worth it. Sorry. It's going to get sometimes worse before it gets better, but to trust that process, that's part of the process, therapy is not a quick fix. And most people who reach out say that they've been wanting to reach out for help for so long. And that instant gratification that you just talked about, people expect change and things and fixes really quickly. But that's just not possible in the therapy room. I mean, I don't like to keep anybody in therapy longer than they need to be. I want to help people in a really deep, profound way. And so I try and do that in a process that makes sure that we're like doing active work. We're really working on the things and then on the goals that you really want to do. But it takes time and it takes repetition. We usually don't face something once and heal it fully. We face something and heal it enough for now, and then we go along in life. But it takes repetition. It's not just something you do like once, or you talk about once, or experience once, and then you move forward. Most of the issues that people are experiencing, the programming comes from their childhood or very early on in life. All of that's been there for so long. So undoing or untangling that can take a long time. Once we get through some of that therapy work and we've resolved something enough for now, or maybe fully, that's when you can get into some of the lighter work and coaching, which is a lot, I think, where people feel like it's a bit more fun work, because we're looking into the future. We're focusing more on, who do you want to become versus who you've always been or who you felt like you've been held back by. So that's where coaching can come into place. And there are fewer usually rocks along the way or on that path when we get into coaching. And usually people are just looking for the map to go from where they are to get to where they want to be tomorrow.
Yeah, it's kind of like having a messy room.
Yeah.
You go in there and everything's kind of all jumbled, and there's that phase of suck of having to clean it up. But once you clean it up, how good you feel about it, and having a nice clean room, maybe you moved it around and organized it, and then you get to start looking on to other things and knowing that room is clean. It just makes it so much easier to go do those things. Yeah,
I love that way of looking at that. I should write that down. That's a good analogy.
Well, it actually just recently happened. Julie has a daughter, and we had a little messy room situation going on, and she was just kind of here, kind of there, and she cleaned her room, and like, wow. And then came and said, "You guys were right. I needed to clean my room." And she's all happy. She just got a second job. She's rocking and rolling, that girl. So sometimes you got to clean your room.
Yes. Yeah. I love that.
Super fun stuff. Well, I'm sure there's certainly people that are interested in wanting to learn a little bit more about you and about your business. So for those who are, what would be one of the best ways that they can go ahead?
Yeah, you can, my website is wavewellnesstherapy.com, where you can find more information about my services, my approach to therapy, and learn a little bit more about me. I am on Instagram. My handle is therapy with Lindsay.v, Lindsay with an A, therapy with Lindsay.v. I post pretty regularly on there about therapy, and I share little tidbits of my life on there too. I would say like a big number of my referrals come through social media. So yeah, please check out my Instagram. You can find lots of links on there to my website and free resources and lots of good stuff on there.
Awesome stuff. Well, phenomenal human being. Great conversation. Thank you very much for coming on the show. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great meeting you too.
No worries. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com, or call 705-413-3775.